Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Nintendo countdown list. This is kind of a countdown list, but not really, because it's not like, oh, these are in numerical order of my favorites or what I think should happen. This is more of a top 10 list of game franchises I think are due for a comeback. That you know, the time is right. Those of us who love those games have a lot of disposable income, and we definitely want to buy games for it. I don't know if you can hear my dogs barking. I think the mailman got here, the FedEx guy delivering packages, so they're going nuts. But no, these are the top 10 game franchises I think are due for a comeback in the near future. Um, there's a hint. There's a game playing behind me that I think a franchise should be back. But let's get started. Dino Crisis. I mean, I beat this drum a lot on this channel. I love Dino Crisis. I really don't understand. Excuse me. I don't understand why it hasn't made a comeback yet. I mean, dinosaurs have been hot over the last few years with the Jurassic World movies. Those have been raking in over $1 billion. And in that same time frame, Capcom has re-released the Resident Evil games with a new engine, and they're all just phenomenal. In fact, I think very soon I'm going to be streaming Resident Evil 4 because they did spooky season here in October. So I mean, you got dinosaurs are big. Resident Evil is big with that engine again. Let's do what we did in the 2000s and combine the two and get some Dino Crisis, like a remake, a new game in the series. I just think that would be really cool, like survival horror with dinosaurs. In fact, I dare say, like the tension was higher for me playing the original Dino Crisis than it was like the original three Resident Evil games. Like I was like just really like on edge, especially because that T Rex or the Raptors could bust through at any time. Like that really kept me on edge. And I think in today's market with the new graphics and everything looking so photorealistic, doing a game like that, I think that would kill. It'd be so much fun, and I think it would sell. Like I know Dino Crisis went out on a bit of a low note in 2003 with Dino Crisis 3. I mean, you did put it in space, Capcom. That's on you. That's not on us, the consumer, for not buying it. You put the damn game in space. And generally speaking, if a game or movie goes to space when it shouldn't go to space, it kills the franchise. I think like the only exception to this rule is Mario Galaxy, where Mario goes to space, and it's one of the most beloved 3D Mario's ever made. So, Capcom, don't put dinosaurs in space. No one wants that. But yeah, Dino Crisis, a remake, a new game in the series, a reimagine. I think that's just prime for printing money. A lot of people want it. The Dino Crisis games, uh, they're fairly expensive for retro games. So I think if we got some remakes out there, I think they would sell. I think they would do decent. They'd make money, Capcom. So listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. All right. Next up, we got Tony Hawk Pro Skater. I know we got the 1 and 2 remake a while ago. Not a while ago. 3 4 years ago. I think 2020. I think it came out during COVID. Maybe 2021. But that killed. Like, oh man, that was a blast of nostalgia. I still play that game to this day. I still play the other Tony Hawk games to this day. But uh, I just think it's ripe for a remake. Vicarious Visions, I think, killed it, and then Activision was like, "All right, you guys are just gonna do Call of Duty and Toys for Bob shit from now on, or Destiny. I think it was Destiny. They Vicarious Visions got put on before Bungie left Activision, and that team just kind of disbanded. People left, the owners left, and started a new company. So it just kind of left it hanging. But Microsoft has bought Activision, so they own the Tony Hawk Pro Skater license now. And as I reported on a few weeks ago, the Tony Hawk Pro Skater Twitter account did a 25th anniversary banner and things like that. So I think more is to come from Tony Hawk Pro Skater. And honestly, just using that engine they used for the 1 and 2 remake to give us a 3 and 4 remake, and I would say a 5 remake. Just I wouldn't even call 5 a remake. I would just say Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 and just pretend whatever Activision put out for Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 never happened. Just do that. And it's a fantastic fun series. It's one of those pick up and play series where you can like lose yourself for a couple hours playing it, or you can like, I'm just going to do a quick session. I got to get those skate tapes, or I got to spell out skate, and I'm just going to dedicate 15, 20 minutes to the game because that's all I got. That's one of those perfect games, especially for us older folks with families and responsibilities where we don't have hours and hours to game, but we do want to play some games. So we're just like, oh, I'm just going to take a quick moment to play a couple, just literally just listen to a couple songs on Tony Hawk Pro Skater, and boom, we're in there, kind of thing like that. So definitely Tony Hawk Pro Skater. I think it's time. It's time we get a 3 and 4 remake and we get a new entry in the series. Whether we start something new, we don't call it Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 or 6, depending on how you want to do the numerics there. We just get a whole new Tony Hawk. Maybe we just reboot the series, just Tony Hawk Pro Skater, and we kill it. We get a mix of classic skate music from the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Throw in some new stuff. Call me, Microsoft. I'm here to fix your business model, Microsoft. I can save Xbox. Just call me. I'll do it. And on that note, I'm going to skip one because I did have something else listed, but I'm going to skip over that one and I'll come back to it in a second. Banjo-Kazooie. Speaking of saving Xbox, we are getting Banjo-Kazooie on the Switch for the Nintendo Switch Online N64 stuff. That's awesome. It's a fun platformer. I haven't played a ton of Banjo-Kazooie. I have played through the first several levels. It's a fun game. So it's one of those things. It's just, oh, God, talk about like acquisitions that just did not work out for any party involved, and that was Microsoft buying Rare. It's just kind of like they never, I don't know if it was early on they didn't let Rare do what they wanted, because I'm not sure the history behind Nuts and Bolts, which was the last Banjo-Kazooie game that came out in 2008. But it just that game might have been ahead of its time, because I never played Nuts and Bolts, but from what I've heard, it's very reminiscent of the what is it called? Something hand. It's not Magic Hand. Whatever you do in Tears for the Kingdom when you're building all your contraptions, things like that. So Nuts and Bolts apparently was very like conceptual wise, very similar to that. So maybe that was just ahead of its time, or just the wrong franchise to do that with. But I mean, 3D platforms have been killing it lately. We just saw with Astro Bot, and then the Mario games always kill. So it's just having a really good 3D platform with a really good team behind making it would be great. And it's something along those lines of, man, oh man, would it be awesome if we got, I don't want to say like, obviously Nintendo would have to buy it, but it'd be nice if Nintendo developed the Banjo-Kazooie. If we got a new Banjo-Kazooie, if Nintendo developed it, and then, it got published by Rare, and a joint Nintendo Microsoft exclusive kind of thing for the Xbox and the Switch. I think that would be pretty awesome. Or if Yooka-Laylee was out, that did pretty well with its updates and stuff like that. Maybe Rare rehire some of those people if they want to come back, or you source it out to that team, the people who worked on Banjo-Kazooie back in the day, and we could get something brand new. Maybe not make it as much of a collectathon as the Rare N64 games were, but it's a series that a lot of people have fond memories of. Like I said, even though I didn't play a ton of it, two of my best friends growing up in high school loved the hell out of Banjo-Kazooie, and they played it all the time. So there are those fans there who are longing for it and who want it, and Microsoft has just got to give Rare the go-ahead to do it, and I think it will do very, very well, especially if it's got a smaller budget. If Microsoft, with their multi-platform strategy, aims it for the Switch, you aim it to run on the Switch, and then you just kind of port it over to Microsoft. I would do a physical release on the Switch, physical and digital release on the Switch, and just do digital only on Game Pass, kind of thing like that. And you could sell it too if you want, and do it that way, because I think Switch owners more than anybody like their physical games. As you can see, my stuff. But I just think that would be good business sense, because if you aim it for the Switch, you don't have to downgrade it for it to run on the Switch. It will run on the Switch perfectly, and then it's just bonus. You can run it better on not the 360, the Xbox One Series S and X, you could like clock it at 60 frames a second there, and it would just run smoothly because you don't need top tier 8K graphics for a Banjo-Kazooie game. It's just got to look good in HD and run at 60 frames a second, and I think you would have a big seller because I think people would then just be super impressed how smooth it runs. So bring it back. And now, switching gears to another game that we haven't seen in a while. This one at least had a release 8 years after the last Banjo-Kazooie game, and I'm talking about Star Fox. Star Fox always holds a special place in my heart. It's probably my favorite Nintendo series that's not Zelda or Mario. I just enjoy the fighting in the dog fight in the game. I think Nintendo has always done a great job with that, especially the N64 version and the DS remake, Star Fox 64 3D, two of my all-time favorite games. And I've been playing Star Fox Assault on the GameCube, and that's fun. That's a lot of fun. Star Fox Zero, that could have been fun if they would have allowed you to just use regular controls, because the problem with using the Wii gamepad as your controls, it was a cool concept, but the execution wasn't great, and it was one of those things, it took a bit to get used to, but once you got used to the controls, it wasn't terrible. But the problem is because the controls took so much getting used to, if you stop playing that game, if you put that game down for like a week, you would have to get used to the controls all over again, and at that point you're further along in the game, so it's not holding your hand anymore, and then you just get your ass kicked and you die a lot, and then it just becomes no fun, and you put it down because you've already invested so many hours in it. You don't want to go back to the start and do it again and then have the same thing happen to you when you put the controller down for a week or two because you have a life and you come back and you're not used to those controls. So Star Fox is, I think, due for a comeback, and I think it would do another game I think would do very well, especially if you just gave it regular controls, because I know a ton of people when Star Fox Zero came out were so excited for that game, especially when you got the bonus, I think it was a tower defense game, whatever that Slippy game was. I'm pretty sure it was tower defense. I don't even think I played it. I think I just had it and I never played it. But if you just gave us regular like aerial controls for it, I think I think it would kill. I think Nintendo, and luckily with the Switch, there isn't really a control scheme where like, oh, we can screw this up. I think sometimes Nintendo gets too caught up in their controllers and their peripherals, and they don't understand that not everyone wants to use motion controls or a tablet or things like that. Some of us, we just want a controller. I'm just grabbing my DualShock. We just want a controller, and we just want to play with a controller like a controller. We just want to play a game. And I've always thought Nintendo not giving those options, especially in the Wii and Wii U days, not giving you the options to just play a game like a video game, I think it always kind of hurt them. Because where the Wii sold like gangbusters, it was mostly just for a lot of people, it was just a Wii Sports box. But had like, they not used motion control so much in those games that they would have sold even more software, because I bought Mario Galaxy, but because I had to use the damn motion controls all the time, I was not having fun with it. I did not want to do that. I would just want to play it with a controller. So I never really got far in Galaxy, which I do have the 3D All-Stars pack. So I do want to give it a second chance for that, because I don't have to use motion controls. I can play it in handheld mode. I can play with my Pro controller, and I can play games the way I like to play them most of the time. Now, that's not S-ing all over motion controls. I do have fun with it. Like, Tiger Woods Golf for the Wii was one of my favorite games for that Wii. I just love playing real golf with the Wiimote, just because I didn't get to go out golfing as much as I wanted to. So that was a nice little, a fun little thing. And I think it was the bigs for the Wii. But yeah, so give us a new not F-Zero, Star Fox game there, Nintendo, and just let us use regular controllers, or if you want to do some sort of weird ass control scheme with it, give us the option to just use a controller and play it like the old Star Fox games on the N64, the Nintendo, and GameCube. And also work with Hori and give us like a flight stick. How cool would it be to have a Star Fox flight stick? You can't see it; it's off camera. I've got a freaking train from Genshin to Go, a train controller for my N64. So I'm all about those fun peripherals. and something I can just sit on my desk and play, watch it on my TV. That'd be great. So Nintendo, get on that. And I should say this list is kind of Nintendo heavy, so we're going right into another Nintendo game. And I'm gonna say this game along with just the whole genre. But Mario Baseball, the last one we got was in 2008. Same with Banjo because we nuts and bolts with Super Sluggers for the Wii. Yeah, Wii. And I've always been a fan of the Mario Baseball games. I think they're a lot of fun to play. But I love baseball, so I mean, it did make an appearance on the 3DS Mario Sports Challenge or whatever that was called, which I do own. But it was like a very dumbed down version of the Mario Baseball series with not as much flair, because all those games kind of were, they were complete games series, so heck value for your buck, but they weren't as flamboyant as the Mario Sports series are. But with saying Mario Baseball, and I said a whole genre, but Nintendo published sports games, I always enjoy those. Kobe Bryant Courtside was one of my favorite basketball games to play. You can see it next to the Zelda Gold cart. I got Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball for the N64. In fact, I need the Game Boy games, but I own all the home console versions of the Griffey games. My favorite sport with my favorite baseball player, so it was a no-brainer for me to buy those games. But that was one of my favorite baseball games for the time. I know they got more advanced and better along the way. I can't say that Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball is my favorite baseball game of all time, which you can kind of see it if you look down there. You can see a Ken Griffey Jr. figure and let's see the thing right there, the Super Nintendo box for Slugfest. So I can't say that Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball is my favorite baseball series of all time. But through like Super Nintendo up through the N64, I think it was one of the best. And like I said, Kobe Bryant NBA Courtside was great. I don't know if Nintendo ever published a football game to say like, oh, they did a great football game. But I mean, Retro Studios did talk about doing a Mario football game. So if I would love to see, because Nintendo does these fun Mario games. Those are fun. And like I said, I want Mario Baseball to come back. But I'd also love to see Nintendo bring back their sports series, like doing baseball again. Maybe, do kind of a throwback Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball. Do another NBA game. Shoot, if you brought back Kobe Bryant basketball and it was a half decent basketball game with not a ton of microtransactions like the 2K series, and you got Kobe on the cover, I think that would kill. Like, so many people would buy that game just because of Kobe, for instance, and then also just having a good basketball game with not an S ton of microtransactions. I know people rag on 2K about that for that series, so I think bring back some sports games, and maybe work with Tecmo. We bring back Tecmo Bowl. We kind of like sports games these days have gotten too simulation heavy, and it takes some of the fun out of it. Like, that's when I kind of quit playing the baseball games, because I know everyone loves the show, and I think the show 17 was the last one I got. Let me see. This got Griffey on the cover of the show. Yep, the show 17 was the last one I bought, just because it got too simulation like, and I was just like, I don't play sports games to play exactly like the sport. I played these sports. I played these sports games for a lot of fun, and I want to do that. So yeah, Nintendo making some fun jump in sports games like a Mario Baseball, or do a little more advanced, do a little more realistic, like a Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball, Kobe Bryant basketball. I think those would both kill, because the Nintendo is Switch, because of its lower power, is a little underserved on these sports games. I don't ever hear anybody talking about, oh, I'm buying 2K25 on the Switch. I'm buying the show for the Switch. Maybe if that's the only system you have, you get those sports games for it. But generally speaking, if someone's got an Xbox or a PlayStation, they're buying the show. They're buying NBA 2K on those systems. Football might be a little more complicated to do, because I know the Major League license, that is, I think the show has it for multi-platform, but if you make a console exclusive, you can make an MLB license game. Like, they don't have the exclusive rights to the MLB license, and I don't think 2K has the exclusive rights to basketball. They might. I know NBA Live was in there for a long time from EA, but I don't think they have the exclusive rights. So I think Nintendo, if they tried and wanted to, they could get these sports licenses to make these games. All right. Coming in next, we just played through the first game in the series, and I think it's due for a comeback, something new. I know the creator, Ken Levine, is off doing a Bioshock-esque game, but not quite Bioshock, though. It's called Judas. I'm actually looking forward to that. I'll definitely be picking that one up. But cat's out of the bag. Bioshock. A new Bioshock game. I think we're overdue for that. Maybe 2K, you bring back Ken Levine to do it. But how great the first Bioshock is, as well as Infinite. And Bioshock 2 is not bad. I just don't think it's as good as the other two. Especially story-driven first-person shooters. I do think, bringing something like that back would do really well. Especially because, you've got a lot of leeway where to play into it. Because the first game was very atmospheric and creepy. You're underwater. You got these big daddies always kind of lurking about, the splicers and things like that. And then, Infinite, you're in Colombia in the sky, and it's bright and hopeful looking, and just you're taking in all the scenery and things like that. And then, you get thrown into a revolution and things go to shit. So, two aspects of the game, and so you've got a lot of leeway to find your tone if you're making that game. And I think coming back to that and just getting a good story, especially build off of the first one where you have Elizabeth as a partner, and she doesn't get in the way. It's not a giant escort game. Well, I mean it is, but it isn't. Like, you don't have to worry about keeping her alive, and she tosses you ammo, she tosses you health, and things you need to survive, and just uncovering the mystery of Columbia, but also how it connects to Rapture was really cool and fun. And if we could do a third game, the first game took place post World War II. Third game, but second game done by Irrational Games. Second game took place industrial era. I want to say like post World War One, maybe right around World War One, kind of thing like that. So, find a cool little time frame to do something like that in. Maybe in between those two time frames, maybe do something, in the 60s or something like that. But I just really think there's some really cool things that could be done with that style of game. And I'll definitely pre-order if we get another Bioshock game in there. And then next up, game series right behind me, F-Zero. Just a fun, fast racer, which Miyamoto has gone on record saying they don't really have anything new to do. Like, when they think of something new for F-Zero X, then they'll make it. Which, kind of credit to Nintendo for not always pumping out releases. They always, when they make a game, for the most part, they make a game for a reason. They just don't do like yearly releases. We're just, it's more the same. Just maybe a little bit better graphics. Maybe, we added this little thing, but they actually want to make a solid game for us to play. But it's been a hot minute since F-Zero. The last one was GX out on the GameCube back in 2003. At least the last console version. I don't know if the Game Boy Advance one was after that or not. I don't think there was one on the DS. So you could literally just make that game with better graphics and faster processing speed, and I think most people will be happy. I think people are starved for it. They love it, and they want it. Again, it's not going to sell like a Zelda or a Mario or a Metroid, but I think it'll do pretty good numbers. You don't need to invest a ton of money in it. But honestly, I think the real reason why Nintendo hasn't given us a new F-Zero game is because they're afraid it's going to cannibalize for Mario Kart. Mario Kart's their racer that they make, and if they put out another F-Zero could hurt Mario Kart sales. Which honestly, I don't think so, because those two games are different enough to where I could see someone picking up both. I don't imagine, especially if you don't release them at the same time. And the new Mario Kart's been out forever, so it's not like you have to worry about people deciding between Mario Kart 8 and the new F-Zero. They're going, because I know Mario Kart 8 is one of the highest selling games of all time, so you don't have to worry about cannibalizing that. You've made more than enough money off that, Nintendo. So bringing out a new F-Zero game, I think it'd be a blast. And I think a lot of people who already own Mario Kart, if they wanted F-Zero, they would go buy F-Zero. And they probably would, because again, it's a different racing experience. It's a different feel. It's fast. It feels faster. I don't know if, it's actually going by faster. It could just be an illusion of frame rate and things like that. But it's a faster game. You don't have like power-ups to hurt anybody. You're literally just racing. You got a health bar. You're slamming into sides. You're hitting turbo boosts and things like that. So it is a different game from Mario Kart. And I think it's something that us fans would love to see, because I know F-Zero 99 that they're doing on the Switch Online has done really well, has been very popular. So I think, again, it just shows Nintendo, you go to these legacy properties that you own, and you don't have to release them every year. Like, in some games, we haven't gotten one once a generation, but, some games, like an F-Zero, like a Mario Baseball, a Star Fox game, we don't need multiple releases per console like a Mario or a Zelda game. Give us, one a generation. So the way Nintendo's going, one every 10 years, and we'll probably be happy. So yeah, so F-Zero right there. And then coming up next is another game that we did get a remake of fairly recently, 2 years ago? And almost 2 years ago. I think it'll be 2 years ago this January, because it did come out on my birthday. But the last main entry in the series was 2013, and that's Dead Space. The Dead Space remake did really well. So honestly, I think if I were EA, I would remake Dead Space 2, and then I'm new to the Dead Space 4. I'd never really gotten to the games when they originally came out. I wanted to, it was one of those game series, I want to play this, but I don't have the time to play this, and I've got other games I'm playing. So what I would do if I was EA, remake Dead Space 2, and then do a brand new Dead Space 3, because from what I understand from my friends who are all about the Dead Space games, they don't like Dead Space 3. There's not a lot of people who like Dead Space 3. So, you remake Dead Space 2, and then you cap off the trilogy with a brand new Dead Space 3. And from what I understand, the making of Dead Space 3, it wasn't the game that the developers wanted to make. It was something EA kind of mandated, with multiplayer trends and microtransactions and DLC. And, the way video game companies do, like EA. They like to chase those trends. So coming out with a new Dead Space series, because 1 and 2 are beloved, and then you just do a new 3. You just totally ignore the original 3, and you make your own 3 to close out the trilogy. And then, if 2 and 3 sell really well, maybe we get a 4th, or maybe, we get a completely new look at it, depending on, how this trilogy ends. We get a completely new take on the whole Dead Space series. New heroes, maybe new necromorph type characters. Just kind of do something completely new with the 4th game, because I really enjoy the lore from what we got from the first Dead Space game, and it's one of those things, I kind of want to go and play Dead Space 2, but I don't want to go backwards with gameplay and graphics and things like that to play Dead Space 2. I'm just kind of holding off on whether or not we get an actual Dead Space 2 remake. I'm just waiting for either, no, it's never coming, or, yeah, we're making it, and then I will decide what to play, if I'm going to play Dead Space 2 or not. But, yeah, I really liked the Dead Space 1 remake. I hope, excuse me, I hope we get a remake of 2, and then, like I said, ignore 3, since a lot of the fans did not like 3, and then, we just move on, and we go to we get a whole new Dead Space 3 by the team, and we get a nice conclusion to that story. So that's my pitch for that, EA. Don't hire me. I don't want to work for you, EA. And then coming at number 8, we've got, this would be 9. Sorry. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, this is number 9. The Chrono series. Again, I've been preaching, Square, just give us the DS port on the Switch, or make the Super Nintendo version available on Nintendo Switch Online. I just want to play Chrono Trigger on modern hardware that gives me the ease of use of playing modern games to where I don't have to find a save point. I don't have to go out to the map. If I'm in the middle of a dungeon and I have to go do something, I can just, turn the system off, turn it back on, and boom, I'm exactly where I was. I do love that about modern games, especially when it comes to RPGs. But yeah, or like a 2.5 remake of Chrono Trigger like you are doing with Dragon Warrior or Dragon Quest. So that would be really, really cool of you, Square. But also, like, kind of like continuing that series. And I honestly don't know where you go. So this is more me just throwing it out into the universe and hoping Square's got a good idea. Because, they make a bunch of Mana games. They make a bunch of Dragon Quest games. They make a bunch of Final Fantasy games. But in the constant of Square and Enix catalog, everyone is like, Chrono Trigger is the best JRPG ever made. Chrono Trigger. And a lot of people love Chrono Cross. So it's one of those things. I don't have a like roadmap like I have with some of these games of, you could do XYZ to make a third, fourth, fifth installment of the game. This one, again, I'm just throwing it out there in the ether. Another Chrono game. I think now would be a great time to do something like that. You could use a similar art style to Akira Toriyama and kind of like honor him. The game could be made in his honor, things like that. And, just build a story that deepens the lore of that Chrono universe. Because I feel like, because Chrono Trigger felt like a nice self-contained game. And then you got the Radical Dreamers, but it was only in Japan, which, man, I think I've mentioned it before on the podcast. I wanted to play Radical Dreamers for so long in high school. Like, I kept trying to find translated ROMs, and it just wasn't happening. I just could not find any ROMs that were translated that were worth my time. And we finally get Radical Dreamers in this Chrono Cross HD remaster. God damn, it's boring. I'm not a visual novel person when it comes to, like, if I'm going to read something, like if it's a visual novel, I don't want to make choices because then it's like I'm backtracking and things like that. If you're going to do a visual novel, just don't give me a choice. Just let me scroll through the text and see the pretty pictures. But yeah, I wanted that for so long. But yeah, so I mean, they got that over in Japan, kind of deepens the lore a little bit. And then Chrono Cross doesn't feel like it's deepening the lore at all, but then you get towards the end of the game. And then you see the connections to Lavos, and, you see the images of the characters from the first game, and you find out, kids' relationship to all of them. And it was just like, this is really cool. Let's deepen this lore some more. Let's get a third game. And Square was like, nah, dog, we're not going to do that. And I do find it funny that we got an HD remaster of Chrono Cross, but we don't get crap for Chrono Trigger. I know it's out on Steam. I'm not even sure what version on Steam it is, and I'm probably going to give up when I get one of those handheld PCs. That's when I'm probably going to buy it, and that's how I'm going to play it, because I don't know why, but my PlayStation, when I hook it up, has a weird sound quality to it, so I don't know if I want to stream Chrono Trigger. But yeah, I mean, a third Chrono game would be awesome, or just, 2.5 remake of Chrono Trigger. Not even a remake, just you do redo the graphics. You keep everything the same. I don't know how I feel about the anime cutscenes, because the problem with the anime cutscenes, they're cool and they look fantastic, so don't get me wrong, but the problem with the anime cutscenes is you have the scene play out in 16-bit, and then you get the anime cutscenes, or you get the anime cutscene and then it plays out in 16-bit instead of the cutscene replacing it playing out in 16-bit. So if you're gonna take the time to do that remake and you want to do the anime cutscenes, make sure you take out the 2.5D cutscenes, so we're not kind of seeing the same thing twice. Because I always found that a little bit jarring with the PlayStation remake. And I honestly can't remember if that's in the DS version or not, if you have the anime or not. Because I know I always tout the DS version as the definitive version, but I've played through the Super Nintendo, the DS version, and the PlayStation version so many times. Like, I've beaten that game. So I've gotten all 13 endings. I got them all on my SNES copy before that got lost, sadly. I got all 13 on the DS version. Wait, there might actually be more than 13 because I know they added content. So I got all the endings on the DS version. So that's at least 26 times. And I've beat it at least once on the PlayStation. So I've beaten that game at least 27 times. And for a long ass RPG that it is, because I think it's 30 hours to beat it, that's a lot of gameplay. So I don't remember if the DS, because it all kind of like, I know the Super Nintendo does not have the cutscenes. I know the PlayStation does, but it's kind of like the DS kind of melds between the two. So I'm just like, does it have the cutscenes? I don't remember. But yeah, so if you were to do cutscenes instead of just the 16-bit cutscenes, integrated a little bit better. So because it always just felt jarring the way it would cut to the cutscene, and I would just see the scene again in 16-bit. But yeah, a third Chrono game, again, putting it out there in the universe, not quite sure what it would be, but I would really, really enjoy it. I would love to play as Chrono again, like in a new adventure. Maybe somehow like something happens in Chrono Cross with the Chrono Trigger, and the universes kind of meld into each other, and like Chrono and Kid and what is the name of the character from Chrono Cross? I can't think of his name right now. But they all kind of like have to team up for something. I don't know. Just throwing it out there. I don't know what that game would be about, but just throwing it out to the universe and maybe it will happen, because I'm constantly on Square about making Chrono Trigger, just the DS version, on my Switch. That's all I want in life. And finally, we're at number 10, the Star Wars Rogue series. I was playing that on the GameCube, and for whatever reason, that was the one game that screwed up on the stream. Everything else looked good, but Rogue Squadron did not. But those games are awesome. The last game we got was Rebel Strike, which was Rogue Squadron 3, which is the game I was playing. And those are just so much fun. Much like Star Fox, it's just so much fun with the space dogfighting. Factor 5 killed it with that. Too bad they had to go make Lair for PlayStation, because that all but, like, I think killed their studio just because of how bad that game ended up being. Great concept, by the way. If you don't know what Lair is, it's a dragon flying game for the PS3. The problem is they kept trying to use the PlayStation's stupid motion sensor in the PS3 controller, and it was just a disaster. I don't think the game was very good either. I never played it just because I heard so many bad things about it, and I didn't get a launch PlayStation. So by the time I got a PlayStation 3, the word was out about how bad that game was, so I just avoided it. But yeah, getting some of the guys from Factor 5 to come and work on that. And I don't know what studio would do these, if because the Rogue series was exclusive to Nintendo, would it have to be published by Nintendo? Because those were published by Nintendo, kind of thing like that. But yeah, having the Rogue series back, just a good dogfighting Star Wars game, and one that I guess you could do through the whole saga. I know I've said how much I don't like Disney Star Wars, but if we're not playing, if we just do some of those air missions and that, flying the Falcon, a newer version of the Falcon, flying those new X-Wings, kind of thing like that, that'd be cool. Flying those new black and red First Order TIE Fighters is pretty awesome. But yeah, just playing through the whole saga, doing the different fights, and you can just kind of create missions in the middle that take place in between the movies. Maybe add in the dogfight from Shadows of the Empire, the end of that game, where you got to blow up that version of the Death Star, kind of thing like that. It's just one of those cool kind of things, just cool dogfighting games where you get to pilot a bunch of fun vehicles from a movie series you love. Luke's X-Wing, the Millennium Falcon. You get a Naboo fighter in there, and just go to town, just blowing up stuff and just recreating your favorite movie moments. That game I think would sell. I think Star Wars fans have been jaded by a lot of new Star Wars stuff, like the Ubisoft Star Wars Outlaw game, not doing too great. I'm still waiting for a sale. I do want to play it. Like, it does look interesting enough, but not $70 interesting, maybe $20, $30 interesting. So waiting on a sale on that. I know I could do the whole Ubisoft Plus thing. I'm not doing that. I don't need one more subscription service that I got to remember to cancel before it's up. But yeah, that didn't do too well, though. The Jedi Survivor games did well, but the Battlefront games bogged down with microtransactions. Fun games overall, but yeah, the microtransactions are too invasive. And then just Disney Star Wars in general, just failure after failure. So I think if you brought back the Rogue series and you had it firmly planted in the original trilogy, even the prequels, because those get love from the younger folk, Firmly planted in that, and maybe only a couple missions from new Star Wars. I think that would sell well, because especially if we're just flying around, blowing up Death Star 1, Death Star 2, taking out the droid or the Trade Federation's things with the Naboo fighters, maybe even throw in a couple of pod racing in there. I think fans would flock to that game and just have a blast playing it. Maybe kind of incorporate a little X-Wing versus TIE Fighter in there, the old PC series, where you get to play as the good guys and the bad guys. Like I said, pot some of those new First Order TIE Fighters that look really cool. Throw in stuff from Legends. I want to say the TIE Defender is what Thrawn was developing, kind of thing. And oh no, that wasn't Legends. That was the new Thrawn books, where he was developing a new TIE Fighter that had shields and everything like that. So if you did that, that would be a blast. And before I go, we're going to have a bonus one in there. It's a game that I'm going to start playing very soon, because I haven't played in forever, but Eternal Darkness. I would love to see the sanity system come back in a game, because I thought that was so cool. A very unique way to play a video game, where you're like, oh no, my game file is corrupted. Oh, the system shut off. Oh no. Something like that. That was just fun. Even when you knew that was part of the game because of word of mouth, or just, playing it again, when it would pop up at random times, it would catch you off guard. You're like, kind of thing like that. So really cool stuff. Maybe, and I don't remember all the lore of Eternal Darkness. I know you play as your ancestors, and it's like 13 of them, stuff like that. But I've not played that game in like 22 years since it first came out. I own a copy of it. It's one of those things, like I keep telling myself I'm gonna play it, and I just haven't gotten around to playing it yet. I did test it out a little bit on that stream where I was showing off the Prism. So, but yeah, having a brand new Eternal, or just do a remake of Eternal Darkness, I think would be cool. Just modern graphics. Maybe, Nintendo and Capcom have had a pretty good relationship over the last few years. Maybe license out the RE engine, or have Capcom remake it for you using the RE engine, and then you can let Capcom use your sanity system, because I think that's still under patent with Nintendo. I know they patented it. I'm not quite sure how long patents last. I want to say they're like 20, 25 years, something like that. So we're getting to the end of the patent if it hasn't already expired. But yeah, just a brand new Eternal Darkness game, or just a remake. So we have like modern conveniences of gaming installed in those. But yep. So that's my list. 10 games plus a bonus franchises that I feel are due for a comeback, that I think would sell well and do really well. So thank you for watching. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of my list, and what other games would you like to add to this list. Originally, when I was coming up with it, I did have Metroid Prime on the list, but I was like, oh yeah, we're getting a new Metroid Prime game eventually. I think that's going to be a launch game for the next Switch, though. It's been much like Breath of the Wild. It's been delayed too many times, and by the time it comes out, the new system's coming out, so it's probably going to be a launch title for that. But yeah, so let me know some game franchises you would like to see come back to modern consoles, and either get a sequel, get a remake, brand new series involved. But yeah, let me know what you think, and don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends. That'd be great. We're on the road to 500. We're almost at 200 now. We're about, I think, 23 subscribers shy of 200. So that'd be a cool milestone to get to before the end of the year, and maybe we can get up to 500 sometime within the next year. So I appreciate everyone who subscribes. I appreciate you for watching this, and as always, have a great rest of your day. Take care. Bye.